Some people say life changes in a single moment, but Zenith Dunn never expected hers to happen in the 5 seconds it took to chase a stranger across a parking lot, praying he wouldn't turn around and think she'd completely lost her mind. If she'd hesitated even one more step, the story you're about to hear, yeah, none of it would have happened. Before we continue, please tell us, where in the world are you tunning in from? We love seeing how far our stories travel. We love you to subscribe our channel for more interesting single dad stories. Cold wind sliced through the October morning as Zenith burst out of Rosie's Corner Cafe, her apron still tied around her waist, heart thudding like it wanted to break free. The man she was running after, a rugged, broad-shouldered single dad who ordered the same caramel latte every morning, was already halfway to his truck. "Joel, hey, wait, please." He turned, slow and startled, like nobody had said his name out loud in a long time. His brow furrowed beneath messy dark hair, the kind tired dads never bother trimming. His eyes held that quiet, permanent grief she'd noticed for 2 years, the kind that didn't need words to explain itself. Zenith stopped in front of him, breathless, cheeks flushed a bright, nervous pink. "I know this is gonna sound totally nuts," she blurted out, like drive away fast before she kidnaps me kind of crazy, "but I need to ask you something." Joel froze. Okay. Great. He already looked like he wanted to call the cops. Zenith swallowed hard. "I have a high school reunion this Saturday. I've skipped it for 10 years, but this year I decided to face the music. Problem is, the same people who made my teenage years a living hell are gonna be there. And I can't go alone." Her voice cracked. "I just can't." Joel waited, his stillness almost protective, not judging, not interrupting. She pushed through the panic. "I don't have family, I don't really have friends. I work, I go home, I read books. Woohoo, exciting life, I know." She tried to laugh it off, but the sound trembled. "So here's the stupid, embarrassing part." She inhaled sharply. "Can you pretend to be my boyfriend for one day, just for the reunion?" She winced, forcing herself to finish what she started. "I'll pay you if you want. I just need someone to stand next to me so I don't feel small again." Silence. Wind. A car honked down the street. Zenith's heart dropped. Of course he'd say no. Any sane person would. Joel stared at her for a long moment, long enough that she started planning excuses to melt into the pavement. But then something softened in his face. Something like recognition. Like he knew exactly what it felt like to be small. "You don't have to pay me," he said quietly. "What time should I pick you up?" Zenith blinked. "Wait, really? Really?" Her entire chest loosened like a tight knot unraveled at last. She laughed, a shaky, startled sound. "Thank you. You have no idea what this means." As Joel climbed into his truck, his hands tightened on the steering wheel. He had no clue why he'd said yes. He hadn't stepped into a social event since his wife died. But something about Zenith's eyes, something raw, honest, and brave, pulled him in. But neither of them knew the reunion wasn't the beginning. It was the spark that would drag every buried secret, fear, and forgotten wound into the light. And one little girl's hidden wish, the one written months ago, was about to change everything. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe and return to our channel for more life-changing, emotional, and heartwarming stories. Joel Carver wasn't the kind of guy who said yes to strangers, especially not strangers asking him to fake date them for a night. But something about Zenith's voice, the crack in it, the fear she tried to swallow, yeah, that hit him right in the spot he kept boarded up like Fort Knox. If he'd known what saying yes would pull him into, he might have run the other direction. The week leading up to the reunion was a blur, but not the normal kind. Joel found himself thinking about Zenith way more than he should have. She wasn't flashy, she didn't try too hard, she was just real, and real scared. He recognized that flavor of fear. He used to taste it every day growing up. That Monday, he dropped his daughter Star, short for Starling, at her grandma's place. The little girl waved from the porch, her curls bouncing. "Daddy, bring me something cool from work," Joel smirked. "Like what, dirt?" She looked scandalized. "You know, something shiny," he chuckled, ruffling her hair. "I'll see what I can do." Work was the same as always, hammering, hauling, and pretending he didn't mind the ache in his chest whenever someone mentioned family. He kept himself busy. Busy hurt less. But this week, something tugged at him every morning, every time he grabbed coffee, every time Zenith smiled nervously, brushing a stray curl back even though it wasn't out of place. She was different this week, more jumpy, more in her head. Twice she almost burned a muffin tray. Once she added salt to oatmeal instead of sugar. "You okay?" Joel finally asked on Thursday. Zenith didn't look up. "Totally, super fine." "Peak stability," she muttered in a rapid-fire whisper. That was definitely a lie. He wanted to ask more, but he didn't want to pry. Boundaries. That was his thing, or at least that's what he told himself. Saturday came faster than he'd expected. Joel stood in front of his closet, staring at the 3 dress shirts he owned. All of them looked like the kind of shirts you wear to court, not to help a stranger survive social trauma. He groaned under his breath. Then came the voice behind him. "Daddy, why do you look like you're gonna fight your clothes?" Star was leaning against the doorframe, wearing one sock and holding a stuffed llama. Joel sighed. "I'm helping a friend today." Star blinked. "Is it the cookie lady, the one who calls me princess?" He nodded. Star grinned. "Wear the blue shirt. You look less grumpy in blue," he snorted. "Thanks, kid." When he arrived at Zenith's apartment complex, he expected her to look nervous, maybe stressed, but he didn't expect his breath to catch like someone punched the air from his lungs. She stepped outside wearing an emerald green dress that fit her perfectly, soft waves of blonde hair, delicate earrings, makeup just enough to highlight her features. She wasn't transformed, she was revealed. Her smile was small and terrified. "Too much," Joel shook his head. "No, you look wow." He immediately regretted the lack of vocabulary. "I mean, you look beautiful." Her cheeks flushed. "You clean up pretty good yourself." As they approached the hotel, Zenith slipped her shaking hand into the crook of his arm. The moment they stepped through those ballroom doors, her grip tightened hard. People stared, whispered, smirked. Zenith froze. Joel felt her fear like a pulse. That's when he leaned down and murmured, "I got you." "I promise." She nodded, swallowing hard. But neither of them noticed the woman across the room, the one whose lips were already curling, whose eyes sparkled with cruel nostalgia. Veronica Mills. The reunion hadn't even started, but the showdown was already loading like a storm about to break. And when Veronica finally walked toward them, heels clicking, smile sharp enough to cut glass, Joel realized this wasn't going to be some harmless pretend date favor. This was war. There are villains in life who wear dark cloaks, hiss threats, and strike in the shadows. And then there are the ones who wear designer heels, spray on confidence, and a smile sweeter than poisoned honey. Veronica Mills. Yeah, she was the second kind. And Zenith knew it the second she heard those heels coming. Veronica strutted toward them like she owned the entire ballroom, and the building it was glued to. Her stilettos clicked across the hardwood like a countdown to trouble. 3 of her old cronies followed behind her, whispering and giggling like they were still stuck in 10th grade. Zenith's hand trembled against Joel's arm. He felt her nails dig into his sleeve, and the urge to shield her hit him harder than he expected. "Well, well, well," Veronica drawled. "If it isn't Zenith Dunn, you actually showed up this year." Her voice was sweet and fake enough to give a dentist nightmares. Zenith swallowed. "Hi, Veronica." Veronica's eyes swept over Zenith like she was scanning a grocery item she didn't plan on buying. Her stare lingered on Zenith's curves with obvious disdain. "I see some things never change," she said with a tight smirk. Still the same Zenith. Joel stepped half a step forward, subtle, intentional, protective. Veronica finally noticed him. Her gaze traveled up his body, slow and sharp, and Joel instantly disliked the way her eyes lingered like she was evaluating inventory. "And who is this?" she purred, practically tasting the superiority. "You brought someone. You found someone willing to. That's enough." Joel's voice wasn't loud, but it hit the room like a snap of lightning. All at once, conversations around them died, heads turned. Even the DJ pretended to adjust the volume just to listen. Veronica blinked, caught off guard. Joel met her eyes head-on, calm, steady, and far scarier than shouting. "I don't know what happened back then that made you think bullying was some kind of personality trait," he said, "but Zenith is one of the kindest people I've ever met." Zenith stiffened beside him, breath catching. Joel continued, voice smooth as steel. "She remembers my daughter's favorite color. She asks about my day even when she knows I won't say much. She treats people with kindness, a concept you might wanna Google sometime." A ripple of gasps moved through the room. For the first time, Veronica's smirk cracked. Her cheeks reddened. Joel didn't stop. "You spent years trying to tear her down, but all I see is a woman who climbed anyway. Meanwhile, you're still standing in the same place, playing the same tired games." Zenith's eyes widened. Her hand tightened around his arm, but now it wasn't fear. It was disbelief. Veronica's jaw worked like she was chewing on words she couldn't swallow. Then the unexpected happened. She turned. She walked away. Her entourage scrambled after her like panicked ducklings. The entire ballroom exhaled. Joel finally turned to Zenith and immediately wished he'd handled things differently because she was crying. Not loud, broken crying. Quiet tears, rolling fast, trembling hands covering her mouth. "No one has ever stood up for me like that," she whispered. Joel reached up, thumb brushing away one tear. "Well, then everyone before me dropped the ball." Her laugh shook out of her half-sob, half-joy. And for the first time that night, Zenith lifted her chin, not in fear but with pride. Her past had walked up to crush her, but Joel Carver had stood like a wall between her and the storm. What neither of them noticed. Across the ballroom, Veronica was watching them again. And this time, she wasn't smiling. Because Joel might have won the first round, but the reunion had one last surprise waiting, something neither Zenith nor Joel was ready for. The moment Veronica retreated, Zenith thought the worst part of the night was over. But life loves plot twists, and this reunion had one tucked up its sleeve, waiting to smack them both right in the heart. The tension in the ballroom faded, replaced with music, chatter, and the clinking of plastic wine glasses. For the first time since stepping foot inside, Zenith felt like she could breathe again. Joel leaned down slightly. "You doing okay, sweetheart?" The endearment slipped out accidentally, but Zenith didn't flinch. She melted just a little. "Yeah," she whispered, "better than okay." A slow smile formed on Joel's face, his first real one of the night. And when Zenith saw it, something warm tugged inside her chest. She hadn't expected this, whatever this was. Someone approached, a familiar girl from Zenith's old math class. Michelle Harper, not a bully, not a friend. Just one of the quiet ones who watched everything from the sidelines. "Zenith?" Michelle asked softly. Zen nodded cautiously. I wanted to say I'm sorry," Michelle murmured. "I never joined in, but I never stopped them either. And I should have spoken up." Zenith blinked. She wasn't expecting this. "Thank you," she said quietly. "That means a lot." Michelle smiled and squeezed her arm before drifting back into the crowd. Joel watched all this with a look she couldn't quite read, part admiration, part protectiveness, part something else he wasn't ready to name. The rest of the evening passed like a strange dream. They danced, at first awkward, then easy. Joel was stiff as a board for the first 10 seconds until Zenith whispered, Relax, cowboy, you're not being graded. He chuckled, and she swore she felt the sound in her bones. They mingled, laughed, met people Zenith barely remembered. For the first time in years, she felt seen, not for her body or her past, but for who she was now. When the reunion finally ended, they walked out under the cool night sky. Stars shimmered overhead like someone had punched holes through a dark blanket. Zenith hugged her arms around herself. I can't believe you did all that, for someone you barely know. Joel paused before opening the truck door. You're not someone I barely know, he said softly. Not anymore. Her heart thudded painfully. On the drive back, they talked, really talked. Zenith shared about losing her parents young, about the loneliness, about the cafe becoming her comfort zone. Joel shared about Margaret, his late wife, and how grief felt like trying to breathe underwater. Zenith reached over and squeezed his hand gently. Star is lucky to have you, she murmured. Joel's eyes softened. She'd like you. A lot. When he parked in front of her apartment building, neither of them moved. The moment stretched warm, quiet, charged. Joel, Zenith whispered. Yeah, thank you for tonight, for everything. You made me feel like I mattered. He brushed a strand of hair from her face. You do matter more than you think. Her breath caught. She opened her mouth to speak, then something interrupted them. A kid's voice, small, scared. Daddy, Joel's eyes snapped up. Zenith froze. Star stood outside Zenith's apartment door, tears in her eyes, holding something crumpled in her tiny hand. Daddy, I lost my note, she whispered. The one for Mommy. Joel felt his stomach drop. Zenith felt her heartbeat falter. The note. The one Star wasn't supposed to lose, the one addressed to her mother in heaven. And Zenith had no idea that this single piece of paper would change everything. Because once that note was opened, nothing, absolutely nothing, in their lives would ever be the same again. Some notes get tossed out, some get lost under beds, and some are never meant to be found until the exact moment they're supposed to blow a hole straight through your heart. Star's note was the third kind. Zenith hurried up the steps, her emerald dress swishing as she knelt in front of the trembling 7-year-old. Hey, sweetheart, she whispered gently. It's okay. You didn't do anything wrong. Joel got out of the truck, worry etched across his face. Star, baby, talk to me. What note? Star's chin wobbled as she opened her small fist. A worn, crumpled piece of notebook paper sat inside, edges soft from being handled too much. Words written in messy pencil loops peeked through the folds. Zenith instantly felt her breath catch. Joel froze. He recognized it. Star sniffed. I hid it under my pillow, the one for Mommy. I think it fell out when I was packing my sleepover bag at Grandma's. She looked up at both adults, eyes huge and watery. But it's private. It's just for Mommy, not for anybody else. Oh, honey, Joel murmured, kneeling beside her. Zenith rested a hand on Star's shoulder. Do you want us to help keep it safe? She asked softly. Star hesitated, then nodded. But the moment Zenith unfolded the paper, she felt something inside her crack open. It wasn't a drawing. It wasn't homework. It was a prayer. A desperate, childlike prayer to a mother who would never answer through words, but maybe through moments. The handwriting was a bit faded, as if tiny fingers had traced over the letters again and again. Dear Mommy in heaven, I miss you every day. Daddy is sad a lot. He tries not to show it, but I can tell. Can you please send someone to make him smile again? Someone who laughs and makes good cookies and doesn't mind that I talk too much. Someone who won't leave us. I promise I'll be good. Love, Star, at the bottom, shaky numbers, October 19. Zenith's breath hitched. Hard, October 19. She knew that date. She knew it too well. It was the morning she'd chased Joel out of the cafe. The morning she, without knowing why, felt something tug at her like a string attached to her chest. The morning she'd done the bravest, dumbest thing of her life. Joel took the paper next. The second he read it, he went pale, like all the air had been sucked out of him. "You wrote this on October 19th?" he asked Star, voice barely holding together. Star nodded timidly. "I asked Mommy to send someone. And then Miss Zenith showed up that same day." She sniffed again. "You came. Mommy must have sent you." Zenith's throat tightened so fiercely it hurt. Tears rolled down her cheeks before she could stop them. Joel sat back on his heels, wiping at his eyes, stunned. "I didn't know," he whispered. "Star, I didn't know you felt all that." Star crawled into his lap, arms wrapped around his neck. "I just wanted you to be happy again, Daddy." Zenith pressed the note to her chest, shaking. It was too wild, too specific, too impossible to ignore. Was she really here because of a child's prayer? Was this fate? Coincidence? Something bigger? The weight of the moment settled over them like a blanket, heavy, warm, sacred. Joel looked at Zenith with awe and something deeper, something raw, something real. And that's when Zenith realized her life hadn't changed because she chased Joel. Her life had changed because a lonely little girl whispered into heaven, and heaven whispered back. But fate wasn't done yet. Because the truth this note revealed, it was only the beginning of the storm about to hit all three of them, harder than any of them expected. Some moments don't just change your story, they rewrite the whole damn script. For Joel, Zenith, and little Star, the night that note surfaced wasn't just emotional. It was the moment everything snapped into place. But healing doesn't come tidy. It comes messy, loud, and right when you think you're finally okay. Life throws another curveball. Joel carried Star inside Zenith's apartment, the little girl clinging to him like she was afraid he might disappear. Zenith closed the door behind them and just stood there for a second, staring at the crumpled prayer in her hand like it held the secrets of the universe. "Joel," she whispered, voice trembling, this can't just be a coincidence." Joel set Star on the couch gently. His jaw tightened, his eyes softened, every emotion in the world flickered across his face. "I don't know what it is," he said, rubbing a hand over his face. "Coincidence, fate, heaven, I just know he broke off, shaking his head. "I had no clue she was hurting this much." Zenith knelt beside Star. "Sweetheart," she whispered, "why didn't you tell your dad?" Star shrugged, voice tiny. "Because he was already sad. And I didn't want to make him sadder." Joel's breath hitched, sharp, painful. "Star, baby, you could tell me anything." Star sniffled. "But then you smiled again when Miss Zenith came. So I thought maybe Mommy heard me." Zenith pressed a shaking hand over her heart. "Oh, honey." Star crawled into her lap next without hesitation. Zenith wrapped her arms around the little girl, tears sliding down her cheeks. Joel watched them, something warm and terrifying blooming in his chest. Something he hadn't let himself feel in years. Eventually, Star fell asleep curled between them on the couch, still holding Zenith's hand. Joel sat beside Zenith in the quiet, dim light. "I don't know if I believe in destiny," he murmured. "I don't know if Margaret really heard Star, but I can't ignore this, any of this." Zenith looked at him through damp lashes. "Joel," he swallowed hard, "I care about you more than I should, more than I intended to." He laughed once, sad and soft. "Hell, I haven't cared about anything that wasn't my daughter in 3 years." Zenith's heart stuttered. "I didn't plan this," he continued. "Didn't look for it, didn't expect it, but I feel it." Zenith felt like she was made of trembling glass. "What do you feel?" she whispered. Joel reached out, gently tucking a stray curl behind her ear. "Peace," he whispered. "When you're around, I feel like I can breathe again." Her breath caught. She didn't know what to say. Didn't know how to hold the weight of a single dad's heart in her hands, so she said the truth. "You make me feel seen," she whispered. "And I've spent my whole life trying to convince the world I mattered." Joel's eyes softened, warming like sunrise. "You matter, Zenith, a whole hell of a lot." They sat in silence, soft, heavy, beautiful silence. while Star slept between them, her tiny hand still gripping Zenith's fingers. Joel looked at Zenith one more time, a question forming in his eyes. "Would you want to have dinner sometime? A real one this time, not pretend." Zenith's breath hitched. "Yes," she whispered. "I would love that." But the moment she said it, a car door slammed outside. Hard, sudden, sharp enough to make Joel jolt upright. Zenith frowned. "Who's that?" Joel moved toward the window cautiously. Outside, under the parking lot's flickering light, stood a familiar silhouette. Tall, sharp, furious Veronica Mills, and she wasn't alone. The reunion drama, yeah, that was child's play. Because the storm headed toward Zenith's front door was just getting started. Some people don't know when to quit. They don't know when life already gave them their final warning. And Veronica Mills? Yeah, she was the kind of girl who'd poke a sleeping bear just to see what happens. Unfortunately for her, the bear tonight was a protective single dad with nothing left to lose. Joel stiffened at the window, jaw tightening as he watched Veronica pace near Zenith's building entrance like she was rehearsing a speech she had no business giving. Zenith joined him, heart thudding. "What is she doing here?" Joel scoffed under his breath. "Being messy like usual." A part of him wanted to ignore her, just wait it out. But then Veronica's voice cut through the night like a knife dipped in venom. "Zenith, I know you're in there." Star stirred on the couch. Zenith flinched. Joel's protective instincts kicked in so fast he practically vibrated with adrenaline. "Stay here," he said firmly, motioning to Zenith. She grabbed his arm. "Joel, don't." "It's fine. I'm not letting her scare you, and I'm sure as hell not letting her wake Star." He stepped outside before Zenith could protest. Veronica's heels clicked aggressively as she stormed toward him. "Oh, look, the hero," she sneered. "Come to defend your little charity case?" Joel raised a brow. "You really drove across town to embarrass yourself. That's dedication. Weird. But dedicated." Veronica's nostrils flared. "You don't know her like I do." "You're right," Joel said calmly. "I know her better." That one hit. Hard, she pointed a finger at him, shaking. "She's fake, pathetic, she always was." "And you," she laughed sharply, meanly. "You're too blind to see she's manipulating you." Joel stepped closer, voice low, deadly calm. "Zenith couldn't manipulate a paper bag. And if you think you can march up here and talk trash where my daughter sleeps, you picked the wrong night." For the first time since high school, Veronica looked rattled. Zenith suddenly appeared behind Joel, voice trembling but firm. "Veronica, go home." Veronica spun around, eyes blazing. "No, you don't get to walk into this place acting like you've changed. You're still the same Zenith we used to laugh at." Zenith swallowed. Her fingers dug into Joel's sleeve. "Maybe I am the same, but you know what's different." She stepped forward, chin lifting. "I don't need you to think I'm enough anymore." Veronica blinked. Zenith continued, shaky but brave. "I spent years believing your lies. Not anymore, I'm happy. I have people who care, and you can't stand that." Veronica scoffed. "Oh, please, that man and his kid. You think this is a real family?" Joel's voice dropped dangerously. "Watch your mouth." But Zenith moved before he could. She stepped right between them, eyes fierce. "Yes," she said firmly, "I do think they're a real family, one I'm grateful to be part of." Veronica faltered, completely thrown off by Zenith's sudden strength. And then, finally, she did something no one expected. She broke. Her eyes filled with tears, she tried to blink away angrily. "You don't get it," she whispered. "I was miserable back then. I'm miserable now. You were easy to bully because you were kind, and I didn't know how to be." The confession hit the pavement like spilled secrets. Zenith stared, shocked, confused, unsure. Joel pulled Zenith back gently, sensing Star waking inside. "Veronica," he said quietly, "you need help, not an audience." Veronica blinked at him, stung, embarrassed, oddly small, before turning and walking to her car. Her heels clicked softer this time, like defeat echoing behind her. The headlights swept across Joel and Zenith as she drove off into the night. Zenith let out a breath she'd been holding for 10 years. Joel turned to her. "You okay?" She nodded slowly, voice soft. "Yeah. For the first time, I actually am." Joel's shoulders relaxed until a small voice behind them whispered, "Daddy, Mommy." Star stood in the doorway, sleepy, rubbing her eyes. And everything Zenith thought she understood about this family was about to shift again. Because Star wasn't talking about her late mother. She was talking about something else, something she'd kept secret for weeks. And it was finally time to tell the truth. Kids don't always tell the truth straight. Sometimes they whisper it in drawings, hide it in prayers, or say it in their sleep. But every now and then, the truth slips out in one raw, sleepy sentence that hits harder than any adult confession. Star's next words were exactly that kind of truth. Star rubbed her eyes, blanket dragging behind her like a tiny cape. She blinked at Joel, then at Zenith, then pointed sleepily at them both. "Daddy, can Miss Zenith be my mommy now?" Joel went still, absolutely still, like someone had pressed pause on him. Zenith's breath caught. Her hand flew to her chest. "Oh, sweetheart," Zenith whispered. Star walked toward them, small and solemn. "Not instead of Mommy in heaven," she clarified softly. "Just like another one, I want to, like the kids at school. They got moms who bake cupcakes and moms who do their hair. I want that too." Joel's knees nearly buckled. He crouched down, pulling his daughter into his arms. "Star, baby girl, that's a big thing to say." She nodded against his shoulder. "I know, but I feel it. Miss Zenith makes our house warm. Mommy in heaven would like her, I can tell." Zenith's eyes filled instantly. She looked away, trying to steady her breathing, but it didn't work. Tears fell anyway. Joel swallowed hard, his voice cracking. "Star, we have to talk about this slowly. As a family." Star pulled back, her tiny face serious. "But we are a family." Zenith let out a soft, choked sound. She sank to her knees beside them, gently brushing Star's curls from her face. "You're sure, really sure?" Star nodded again. "You came after I prayed for you. Mommy sent you. Daddy smiles now. I smile now. It's like magic." Joel's eyes met Zenith's. Everything unspoken between them, fear, hope, grief, longing, rose to the surface all at once. "Zenith," he murmured, "I don't want to lose whatever this is, whatever we're building." Her heart pounded. "I don't want to lose it either." Joel exhaled shakily. "I know things are messy. I know this is fast. I know we didn't mean for any of this to happen, but his voice broke. "I think I'm falling for you." Zenith covered her mouth, tears streaming freely now. "Joel, I'm already there." Star clapped her hands excitedly, then leaned her head on Zenith's shoulder as if sealing the moment like a promise. Joel reached out and took Zenith's hand, solid, warm, certain. "I don't want pretend, I want real. Dinner dates, movie nights, pancakes with too many chocolate chips, all of it." Zenith laughed through tears. "Even the messy parts?" "Especially the messy parts," Joel said. "That's where real families are made." Star squeezed both their hands. "So does that mean yes, she can be Mommy?" Joel looked at Zenith. Zenith looked at Joel. Both nodded, soft, emotional, unstoppable. Star beamed. "Good, because I already drew us as a family in my school project and I didn't want to erase it." Joel laughed, a real, full, heart-deep laugh, and kissed the top of her head. Zenith pulled them both into her arms, hugging them like she never wanted to let go. And in that tiny apartment hallway, under cheap yellow lighting and the fading echo of Veronica's retreat, something beautiful settled around them. A beginning, a healing, a family. Because sometimes love doesn't knock politely. Sometimes it bursts through a cafe door, chases a man into a parking lot, answers a child's prayer, and builds a home where three broken hearts learn to beat together again.